Hello everybody and welcome to Dante's Game Room. Today I'm going to be inking some of these faces that I've done. These are some of the characters and people of my comic book Demons and Angels, the Mecha City Chronicles. I'll be using some of the stuff I usually use, but I'll also be reviewing this Master Touch Fine Arts calligraphy pen set, 10-piece set I got from Hobby Lobby. See how it holds up or how I like it. This is the G pen I usually use. I also have some other nib holders that I use. As you can see, this is my ink tray and the inks that I use usually. I have all different types. I have acrylic, and then I have Indian ink, and then I have like enamel. So but when I use different inks, I usually use this as like a thing I can hold in my hand, and I fill it up with these, or I refill my Pentel pocket brush pen. This is what I use to, or my Pentel brush pen, my regular one. I'll use this to refill the cartridges with whatever ink that I desire. And of course, the stuff I clean it with is the standard, cleaning solution. But before I babble along too much, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. This is how I keep my my nibs. The nibs I usually use are in here. So if I was gonna need to be using different ones, I'd take them out of here. Of course, these are my G pen refills, but I also use these depending on what I have to ink or what kind of texture I use. Same with the toothbrush. Like if I need like a blood splatter effect, I'll fill it up, and or just a splatter effect, I use a toothbrush. I showed you the inks that I use, and I use different ones. I use Dr. Martens, I use Bombay, I use Winsor and Newton, I use where's the, like, depending on what type it is, I'll use also use these, which is the Montmartre. I can't pronounce that. I think it's like an Australian acrylic ink brand or whatever. But I'm gonna get started inking these faces. I inked another page already before this show, but or this video. I did this with a zebra brush pen because I'm most likely gonna be doing like watercolor or water-based inks with these. So I use the zebra brush pens to do that. So I'm gonna get started. And like I said, I use this when I'm working, but I always buy in bulk. Like, I recommend buying in bulk. You'll save a lot of money. Like, this is the 32 ounce super black speedball, and it has enamel in it. So that's what I use to. That's the black I use to ink my stuff. And like I said, I'll just put it in this inkwell. I use this as an inkwell, or if I'm on the go, I'll put it in one of these and use one of these depending on how I'm inking. And like inking, I'm still learning, and I've been inking now for a long time, but I would say I'm more of a penciler artist. And I ink with I use like on the go. A lot of times I use like microns and stuff like that. But I haven't used this inkwell in so long that it's actually like sealed shut because it has enamel, and I might have to actually use the open up the speedball, because this is not one to work with me too well. And I'll just open up the speedball and put it in here, and I'll worry about, because you can see it like when it gets sealed like here. I'll try something real quick. It got spilled the last time I was using it, and I think it's like sealed itself shut. So but sometimes the threads get covered in the ink and it will seal the threads shut too. But I think this is just from it being spilled. And it causing a problem for me now. But I don't want to take too much of the video up. So I'll just, you know, I can use a different ink too. But I really wanted to use the Speedball. So. And of course, inking, especially when you do with a pen and nib, can be incredibly messy. So that's something to be aware of. And since I use so much of it, this is actually a brand new bottle. So I'm giving it a good shake. And I'll wipe down. Nobody ever said this was easy. I try to, like, usually I'll use like gloves too when I'm inking, but I'm out of the white gloves I usually use. So it's something I'm gonna have to deal with. As you know, that's part of being an artist, dealing with stuff that does not go your way. And oftentimes it seems like the universe is out there to get you. But I'll start off with the G pen. Another thing too, since this is a fresh bottle, it's going to be incredibly liquidy. That's another thing to be aware of. Usually I'll let the stuff sit out for a little bit and harden up, because when it's this liquidy, it'll fall right off your brush and you'll have like an ink blot right away. And ruin your artwork that you've worked so hard on. Oh, Stormy Sue, what's wrong, sweetheart? What's wrong, princess? I think my cat wants out. I didn't realize she was in here when I started this video, so it might be I have to get up and let her out. She's a persnickety princess, and she's very demanding. Yes, you can hear her talking to Daddy. Oh, maybe she just wants attention because she's up here now on my artwork as I'm trying to ink, and this is something I did not expect, and I don't want her stepping in the ink. I will come get you as soon as I'm done, princess, I promise, and I will give you love. I will give you all the love. Okay, princess? I will fill your belly with treats. Oh, I will fill your belly with treats. Yeah, I wasn't expecting her to do that. And when dealing with ink, I didn't want her to spill it all over or get it all over her fur. So that's something funny. Never thought I'd have to be worrying about that. But I guess another thing to do before you start your art video is make sure you don't have your kitty cat in the room. Because they don't care whether you're making a video or not. They are going to do what they're going to do. And you're just going to have to love it or like it. Because they're not going to give you a choice. And of course I love it. So she's my little princess. Short and stout. But I don't want to talk the whole video about her because believe me, I could. So, as you can see, this is the pen I'm used to working with. And it's a G pen for like anime. When I use pen and ink, like I said, most of the time I'm out and about coming up with ideas, so I'll use like microns. I only use the pen and ink when I can sit down in my studio and use it. And I'm going through and drawing stuff I wouldn't normally draw with this tip. Just because I want to get the artwork done and get on to reviewing the other pen and nib set. But I want to show you what it's like. And sometimes you are in a hurry when you're doing your art. You either got a deadline or you're just impatient. Most of the time it's just me being impatient. Most of the time the only deadlines I have to work with are the ones for like logos or like game design or like a job design or like a cartoon that I do. Like I just did a dragster for Funny Car Dragstar that had the old Rat Fink on the side of the trailer, so I had to redesign Rat Fink the way he wanted it to look with his car and his colors. So I had to redraw that, which was a pretty well-known character from the 70s and 80s. But for me, there's nothing quite like working with nib and ink. It can be very therapeutic for me, but at the same time, oh, can it be frustrating, like, and nerve-wracking, depending on what type of art you're doing, you know, because some stuff, like, you don't want to mess up. And sometimes it's just beyond your control. Like, you don't know when a ink glob's gonna glob or you're gonna spill something, like a cat run across your desk. You know, because you didn't check. But the way I look at it, no matter usually what happens mistake-wise with pen and ink, it's usually it's always your fault. Something you didn't think of, something you were not paying attention to. At least in my case, I've never had it be something that I couldn't have prevented if I was just a little bit more patient or pay a little bit more attention, you know. Because it's usually when I'm rushing that I make mistakes. And I think that's a pretty universal theme with everybody and everything that you do in life. If you're not taking your time, being vigilant, or just aware of your surroundings, things will happen that you didn't see because you weren't looking. But whenever you do make mistakes, that's what this stuff is great for, right here. I also use whiteout like this, quick dry, and bleed proof white. You know, as Bob Ross would say, there's no mistakes, only happy accidents. Which, you know, it is what it is. So, I've shown you what I do with the tools I usually use. I don't think I'm going to get any more in depth right now with that. So, I'll probably just go on to, like I said, that ink set, that pen and ink set that I got from Hobby Lobby. Because that is what it is. You know, that's the G pen. This is the Master Touch pen, and like I said, it has like for finer detailing. I'm gonna like mostly stick to these 3 nibs or just these 2 nibs to get an idea of how it works. And if you want, I'll make videos later with the other stuff, but I only have about 10 more minutes on my phone's memory. I can tell right away, like, for me, these are going to be like a lighter weight than I'm used to. And there's the detail pen. I'll go right into the ink with it. And I only have, like I said, enough time to probably do one of these. So I'm loving this tip already. I really do think it makes all the difference in the world for detail work to use the different nibs and not rush. And I can do so much more with these detailing nibs than I ever could with just the one nib, you know, the one G pen nib. Because even my G pen, I use all these different tips and all these different G pen tips. I don't like just using one nib tip, you know. It really limits what you can do. And detail really makes all the difference in the world when it comes to your artwork. And line thickness. You can always make a line thicker, but you can't go back and make a line thinner, you know. And I'm really surprised about how flexible these tips are and how smooth. I'm really enjoying using this set, like for a beginner. This totally works. This totally gives you a feel of what pin and nib work is. And you can very affordably for $6 find out if it's something you like to work with or not, you know. I have about 10 minutes left to do this piece, so I'm probably not going to be switching out the nibs a lot, because I can do pretty much everything with this one that I'm doing on this, you know, for this job, with this one cartoon detail nip. And I'm really surprised because I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to have trouble with these because they're so cheap. But cheap, doesn't necessarily mean poor quality. Sometimes cheap just means it's affordable. You know, I'm just doing like a little stippling effect here for the hair, which normally I wouldn't do with even with the detail pin, because it's inviting globs. But I'm in such a hurry. Usually I would just go back with like a micron, or like a smaller fine liner, like Winsor and Newton fine liner. Like 0.5 or even like 0.3 or 0.005, depending on the type of hair. But to me, this is amazing how good and quality. And I mean, this is quality to me for $6 to get all these different pin tips and be able to work with pen and nib ink. It will give you a really good idea of whether it's a medium that you'll want to work with if you don't have any experience with it, very cheaply. And believe me, I know it. You'll save so much more money working with pen and nib and ink than working with markers. You can make so much more art for the price tag, that is. And ink, see, I mean, that's pretty much done right now. I would wait for it to dry, and then I would go back and erase all the pencil and stuff like that. But for $6.49, and you get, 10 pieces, one dip pen and 9 nibs, that's an incredible value for any artist starting out and learning their craft and their trade. I highly recommend this ink set. So if you're in the market to try out a pen and nib, definitely pick up the Master's Touch Fine Art Studio 10-piece calligraphy pen set, because for $6.49, it's an incredible bargain. It really is. I'm going to continue doing these faces and filling up the city of Demons and Angels, the Mecha City Chronicles. It's the comic book that I'm trying to publish myself. I've done a lot of research, and I'm continuing to do research about how I'm going to publish it, which sites I'm going to use. I've learned, like what's a bad way to do it, what's a good way, which, like Kickstarter just recently started charging taxes on the people that donate to you for them to get their rewards for it. So I don't know how I feel about that. I don't want any hidden surprises for you to be able to get what you want and what you've ordered after you've ordered it. That seems like not the best. I mean, I'm sure people are picking it up now, and the people that are used to it are used to it, but it's not just, it's very difficult um, uh, to publish your creation. And I have gotten offers from publishing companies to have them publish my work. The only problem is they want a piece of my IP, or they want like 50% of it. And anybody that helps me or any artist that works on the project with me, I tend to, like, I'm doing this project all by myself, so it doesn't matter. But if like me and somebody get together, or a group of like, get together, we already split up the ownership of the IP as it is. And if they want 50%, that means me and one other guy, if we're doing it like that, we only owe 25% of the property. One of the publishing companies that offered me a contract, they didn't want part of the comic book aspect, but they wanted to own like the film aspect of it, and like if that any other medium that it went into, they wanted to own it, and I'm like, no, this is my baby, this is my lifelong dream, and I've been working on it. um if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen from you know my hard work, and I don't want to give away ownership of my IP or my dream for a quick way to publish. I'd rather show people my art, and the people that believe in me and that want to be a part of it and get the comic book, they can help me that way, and be a part of it, rather than me giving away ownership just to get it published and get it done. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather, it's more work for me, but I'm doing all the work anyway when it comes to this comic book. So what's a little bit more work, if you believe in yourself, believe in yourself. Don't, especially if this is this is what you want to do, and do it, even if it takes a little bit longer or whatever. I'm going to believe in myself and the community around me that I create. And hopefully things go my way. And if not, at least I'm learning something, another aspect of the trade. And if I have to, I'll just save up my money on my own, and eventually, uh, you know, uh, do it all by myself if I can. And if I can't, I can't. But I have a lot of responsibilities as a parent and a grandfather, that come before what I consider a vanity project, because it's something I want to do. It doesn't need to be done, but I want to tell my story that I have, and I believe in my story. I think it's better than a lot of stuff out there. But there's millions and millions of artists out there that have a wonderful story to tell, that never get to see the light of day. And I want to do everything I can with the little bit of time I have left. I'm an older person as it is. I want to do everything I can, to tell my story and leave it, so it can continue on. Like, this is not like a 12 issue series or something, like, or a 6-part series or a one shot. This is an ongoing, living, breathing city I want to create, like that will be around after I'm gone. Like, in 20 years, I'll probably already be dead for 10 years. I might look young, but I'm not, my I'm going to be retiring from wrestling this year. Just because, you know, I'm old. I don't have, I want to put over as many people I can and help as many kids as I can in the business and, you know, step out of the spotlight or whatever. And, you know, I'm just because I'm too old to be a wrestler doesn't mean I can't train or help people fulfill their dreams. But this dream, I'm the only one that can fulfill this dream. This is my story to tell, you know. So, and I've run out of time to tell it. You know, my whole life I was a musician. I've been a professional wrestler, a rock musician, an artist. You know, I want to tell this story before it's too late, but that's my burden to bear. So, until next time, Dante's Game Room out. Bye bye.